you making the right impression with your potential patients or clients? Your website is oftentimes the first and potentially only chance you'll get to make a memorable impact. People are researching your business even before reaching out to start a conversation. And if your website is outdated, doesn't work, or inaccurately describes what your business currently does, you could be losing business. To step up your online game, reach out to our partners, Finch Marketing. They can create a customized, fully responsive website to help you get found by potential clients or patients, but also by search engines and AI. They offer quick turnaround on new sites and updates tailored to your brand style. Plus, it will look great. For a detailed website review or a fresh new look, contact Finch Marketing at finchmarketingsolutions.com to get started.
You are listening to the global network of podcasters dedicated to the pharmacy profession. Welcome to the Pharmacy Podcast Network.
Each year, Asembia's Specialty Pharmacy Summit is at the epicenter of the pharmacy industry, providing a unique opportunity for stakeholders throughout the industry to understand challenges, generate solutions, and define the future. This is the Pharmacy Podcast Network's Asembia 2026 Rewind. We're dedicated to bringing you inside coverage of the pharmacy nation's biggest events, with on-the-street style interviews, with keynote speakers, attendees, exhibitors, and recurring guests who make each year special. Stay tuned each week for a new episode of this special 6-part series on the Asembia 2026 Summit, held this year in Las Vegas.
I'm Nicolle McClure, President of Finch Marketing, and you're listening to the Pharmacy Podcast Network.
Nicolle McClure has been our partner here at Asembia 2026. Nicolle, this has been really freaking cool to be a partner together in this coverage of this show. It's been awesome.
It's been great. Yeah.
So things have changed. When I came to what was Armada Health, healthcare, huge organization, really doing well. But now Asembia, it's the collective, it's technology, it's the payers, it's the manufacturers, the specialty pharmacies. What do you like about coming to Asembia?
I think it's just a few things, just conversations, connecting with those different types of vendors that are out there. AI has definitely been a big one for this conference. So just kind of learning more about what everybody's doing as far as AI goes. So it's just a very energetic type conference. I feel like you come away with just new and unique ideas.
Another thing that I recognize is you have these gargantuan multi-million-dollar organizations that are here, and then you have the teeny tiny startup specialty pharmacies that are here. I feel like Pharmacy Podcast Network and definitely Finch Marketing plays with that organization that's like, you know what, we really want more attention around our blood disorder treatment or hyperlipidemia treatment or something, but they just don't know how to do it themselves. Talk to us about marketing in the specialty pharmacy space and how it's different than independent community pharmacy.
Yeah, so specialty, it's much more targeted to manufacturers or providers. I would say that's probably the biggest difference. So for us, we approach it in the sense that we can really help them hyper-focus their messaging to the right target audience. With a lot of digital marketing, it's easy to just kind of splash it out there for everyone, and you can oftentimes create a lot of waste with your messaging. And especially for those startup companies, they don't have, the millions of dollars to spend on marketing that the big ones do. So that's where we can really help them to target their message to make sure it gets to the right people.
All right. And when I keep thinking of that, I think of the types of content to build a robust campaign so that you're not just putting content out there, but you're saying, I'm going to time this. I want the press release to come out. I want the blog to come out. I want the new website, to come out. I want follow-up. I'm going to be at a conference. Talk to us about like a campaign-driven exercise that Finch Marketing has helped in the specialty space.
Yeah, and I think that's the benefit of using one marketing company for everything, right? Because, marketing can be definitely a fragmented thing of, we're going to use this company for, the sales side, this for social media, whatever. But with Finch Marketing, we handle all of it. So it's kind of that start to finish messaging. So if you're launching a new product service, or maybe you're just a new company out there, we can build a strategic plan to help make sure that all the messaging is cohesive across multiple platforms. So yeah, it is about that timing of let's release, make sure your website is looking good. That's you and I have talked about that a lot of, you can do all the marketing in the world, but if your website is not easy to read, easy to understand, has a good flow to it, has good SEO, it doesn't matter, right? So that's a lot of times our first step is doing that website review to make sure that it is the best that it can be. And then it's timing out. Let's do a press release and let's do social media ads or, just organic messaging to help grow the messaging for the business. And then it's coming in with targeted email campaigns that are hitting those prescribers in the specialty that you're looking for. And so all of those different things work together with each other to help an overall growth.
Everything that you said has a brand to it that ties back to that website and things, the way that things look, the professionalism, so that it's not different where it's looking. The consumer of the content might be like, well, I saw your newsletter, I saw your website, and they don't even match.
Right.
It doesn't. And Pharmacy Podcast Network went through a not grueling because of Finch Marketing, because you are our marketing company, but grueling because of me, because of my dysfunction in getting the content together.
It was like a therapy session, or what's happening?
Yeah, I know. Tell me how you really feel. But it was like getting my teeth cleaned or something, and it was like, all right, now that it's up and ready. When my newsletter comes out and I see a 3%, 5%, sometimes 12% open rate, and then all of a sudden I'm getting comments and I'm getting leads, and it's because of the branding and it's because of the semblance and it's because of the consistency.
Right.
And we're a small organization. We can't do that ourselves. Like, I rely on Finch for the consistency and the infrastructure of my marketing. I think that when I'm saying that, I want our specialty pharmacies that are listening to the show right now to realize that's what you need too.
Right. And I think a lot of times, we see when we start talking to somebody is people just do their website, they have somebody do it and they forget it. They don't, as the business owner, they don't go back and look at it. Has it been refreshed recently, that sort of thing. And so that's where one of our top priorities is always to do that website review. And so we do a thorough look at what is your flow like? What is the messaging like? Does it look like it's from the 2000s? I can't tell you how many websites I've come across that, back to your point, they may have this great social media and everything, but then you go to their website and it looks like it's 20 years old. So it's definitely a disconnect. And any company that maybe is thinking about using your business, I guarantee you they're going to your website first before they even pick up the phone or shoot you an email. And if that doesn't look on point, social media, all that stuff is good too, but you can definitely lose sales with a bad website. Yep. And so that's where it's so important to make sure it also looks great, but the SEO, the GEO is also good too, because we see that a lot of times as well, where you can have an awesome looking website, but the back end hasn't been built correctly, and so nobody's finding out about it. So that's kind of where those things go hand in hand.
Yep, that makes sense. All right, someone's listening to us. They're like, wow, yeah, I need a checkup. I need to go to the dentist of marketing. So how do people get a hold of you?
You can find us at finchmarketingsolutions.com.
finchmarketingsolutions.com. I know you're also active on LinkedIn. So
Yep.
Nicolle with 2 L's. It's
Yes.
not like
Make
my
it
wife only
easier
has
to
1 L.
find- Makes
You
it
have 2
easier to
L's.
find, though.
Yes, Nicolle. Nicolle McClure. Thanks so much for being part of our team here at Asembia. This has been awesome working with you, and thanks so much for everything you're doing for pharmacy.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey, this is Seth Chaney with 609 Health, and you're listening to the Pharmacy Podcast.
Seth, first time at Asembia. What do you think of this event?
It is fantastic. Tons of energy out here on the exhibit floor. Lots and lots of meetings, lots of new relationships. Loving it.
So we both have a very special friend who is one of the superstars inside Asembia. He doesn't give himself enough credit. He's always behind the scenes. Shout out to
Incredible.
Chris Benz.
Shout out to Chris.
How about you and Chris Benz? Look like you guys could be cousins.
Yeah. The beard follows through here pretty well. I feel like that's an indication that you've been through the thick of it. Chris certainly brought me in here. I think there's over 10,000 people, and I was hoping to meet with every one of them, but I don't know if I'm going to have the time to be honest with you.
He's like, it's not a 2-month event; it's a 2-day event.
That's absolutely right. I don't know if you could get it done in 2 months. Even that seems ambitious. But man, what incredible energy in healthcare.
Talk to us about the new market access reality. I mean, this is a big deal. It's for real. It's here.
Yep.
Talk to us about what that means.
Yeah, so from my perspective, MFP and more broadly the IRA is driving a lot of rethinking about commercial strategy. It really was a dagger into healthcare, and it's creating some new innovative opportunities, though. And so we're looking more for what does pricing pressures create. It creates alternative channels. It creates new ways of doing business, new ways of engaging with patients. So I see that opportunity, and we're looking to take advantage of it.
So, Seth, let's back up for a second for listeners' sake who might not have been able to meet you or come to Asembia. What is 609 Health?
Yeah, so 609 was just a number that I kept seeing about the end of my journey at Lilly, as it was coming to an end after about a decade. And 609 resembles a broken chain. And I think a lot of healthcare resembles broken and fragmented systems, both inside pharma, but even more broadly outside with how pharma has to interact with the healthcare ecosystem. And so 609 is all about stitching together technology and data so that parties that haven't interacted before and had transparency before can.
All right, so this means we're building this new commercialization for operating system for systems for better market access. Tell me how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. So there was an opportunity as I was finishing up at Lilly. I was working in the market access side at the same time that direct-to-patient was getting launched, and really an exciting time at Lilly. GLP-1s, particularly where Zepbound was getting off the ground. Really, really exciting time. And what I saw was this new kind of pricing headwinds that was coming in. This new AI opportunity was coming as a tailwind. And so looking to harness those things to modernize capabilities with the way that market access teams work, all the way from deal development to contract administration and even to the EHR side of things. And so we actually got an opportunity to compete in a mass challenge competition in Boston, and I was really excited. I put a team together of people that I had worked with when I was at Lilly, both on the commercial side, but even in the digital health innovation side. Put it together in just a few weeks, and we competed highly. In fact, we made it, there was 160 teams, and we got to the top 5 and competed very highly around pricing eligibility. And of course, this was a Lilly challenge that they had pushed out to the startup community there in Boston. So I was really excited to take my technology background and my new kind of commercial chops I learned from some of the best in the business and compete with what really is some of the best and brightest in the technology industry out of Boston. It's very exciting.
All right, products and development. Share with us a little bit about how 609 Health is helping to move that ecosystem forward, and what part of it you play?
Yeah, so in particular, we built a prototype that we're still, it's out there and accessible today. We're looking for a manufacturer partner that wants to take that to the next level, and AccessNexus.ai. And the idea there is that it's a pricing eligibility intelligence layer that you can bolt on top to your commercial analytics solution, and it'll help you do things like class of trade association, making sure that you can visualize and see how different entities out in the world and what pricing classifications they kind of fit into. It really helps on the operational side. There's a lot of that. Complexity is continually growing as you see consolidation and M&A happening out in the market. And so the idea is to take technology that takes some of the manual work of lining up what you had at a state and time in your contract and aligning it to what's happening in the real world. And so that prototype was one of 4 ideas around, could you build a suite of applications that would connect from design to prove this methodology of how market access is going to need to operate here in the very near future.
Designing it, going through a process of preparing the clinical readiness, you're going to execute it, definitely have a chance to understand it, and then that's the proof. That's the whole system. Absolutely,
yep. End to end, the idea is that as you look, can we help be a strategic partner, and that could build some cohesion. Today, there's not a lot of cohesion in your HCP go-to-market strategy, and then as you look at health systems, and now as you look at direct-to-patient from a pharmacy angle, and as you look to even direct-to-employer as an emerging category. So the idea is, from design, that you can start to think about those different customer types and how they should intertwine into a cohesive strategy. Today, the vendors that support these areas aren't very cohesive. They don't think about it the way a pharma company thinks about cohesion with the brand across its customer types. And so the idea there is to really get grounded in a design strategy that can be that can flow well into prepare. And happy to jump into that as well.
Yeah, let's talk about being prepared and what that means.
So one of the big things that I did at Eli Lilly was I learned quite a bit about how data about drugs flows into compendia and how it flows into the prescriber's experience inside the EHR. So I got pretty deep into that, and what is good to understand is that there are implications for your brand. There are real brand impacts that sometimes don't surface until some of that data starts to flow in there. You can start to see, do prescribers really know how to prescribe the drug right? There's some inefficiencies that can come just by the nature of the systems that these things cascade into. And so your idea is designing that strategy right, but beginning to execute it in a way to where it conforms and meets that execution layer so that you don't have a bunch of problems right post-launch, which is where all the chaos happens in pharma launch strategies. And so that's really what Prepare is all about, is really working with some of the best and brightest. I am not a PharmD, but I worked with some of the best and brightest PharmD companies when I was at Lilly, and looking to continue to build upon that and expand on that intelligence and bring that so that we have less friction between pharma's handoff, if you will, from when they're delivering drugs to when the healthcare ecosystem is ready to receive it.
Seth, I want to thank you for being part of the post-show. Congratulations on the work that you're doing at 609 Health, and hope to see you at Asembia 2027.
I'll be here, and great to meet you, Todd. I'm looking forward to reconnecting with you, and I get to tell you a story about how we got traction, and looking forward to also telling you about the impact that we're going to have on patients. I'm very excited about what we're doing here.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, this is Natalie Ryan, calling from Value Specialty Pharmacy and RestoreRx, and you are listening to the PharmD Podcast.
Natalie, welcome to the Asembia coverage here, 2026. How are you?
I'm great.
All right, I got to start this show out. Shout out to my friend John DeJames, one of my favorite people in pharmacy. He's the first person that I engaged with way back in the day from Value Drug Company. So shout out to John.
Shout out to John. He helps us with a number of things, for sure.
He's like the jack of all trades, the Swiss Army knife of Value Drug Company.
Absolutely. If you need to know something in the industry, you reach out to John. Yeah. He knows something.
Or if you want to know anybody in Pittsburgh, especially like the center of Pittsburgh, you in pharmacy, and he knows them. So, all right. So, always have known Value Drug Company as a trusted partner in the independent pharmacy space, independent independent community pharmacy space, the expansion into some of the chain pharmacies that are working hard. I haven't really spent a lot of time understanding where your role is in the specialty space, but that excites me because if you're bringing that same quality that you have in independent pharmacy to specialty, I think that's good for the industry. So talk to us about Value Specialty Pharmacy.
Oh, thank you. So, Value Drug Company obviously is a regional wholesaler, cooperatively owned by over 300 members. And our pharmacy was created in 2011. And the reason we were actually created is to serve the specialty needs of those co-op members and the independent pharmacies. So a lot of our referrals came from those pharmacies initially, but then as we, you always need to diversify and increase your volume, we also do physician direct sales efforts and try to help with those niche products, especially with patients that may not have the resources and understanding of the specialty pharmacy process.
Natalie, is part of that the access to the product too?
It is. It is. A lot of our patient focuses are in mental health and MAT therapy, helping patients get access to medications that are under REMS programs or prior authorization that they can't get in their independent pharmacies, and monitoring compliance and making sure that when they're getting these medications, injectables in the doctor's office, that they're really keeping up with their therapy, focusing on the other portions of their health that complement the medication.
All right, I'm an independent community pharmacy in Brownsville, Pennsylvania. That's my hometown. I'm a Value Drug Company, customer. All of a sudden, one of my patients gets a prescription. It's a specialty medication. That's when I pull the lever and I reach out to Value Specialty. Is that how that works?
Absolutely. So our intake team is phenomenal. They work with our pharmacies, especially those who only use us, once in a while, and explain the process in terms of transferring the prescription over to us, letting us do a complete benefits investigation, as well as talking about patient responsibility. So patient copays and those things are large impact, and we never want anyone to choose not to have their specialty pharmacy medication filled because of financial. So we then reach out to the pharmacy, give them the feedback, hey, we're going to be able to take care of your patient, and kind of a time frame for what that looks like.
The front end of this whole situation from the patient's perspective, I'm a 46-year-old man, just found out I have cancer. It's devastating news. It's not like a super-duper dangerous situation. Maybe the physician says, hey, you got a great chance of being okay. You just have to get on therapy. I know my local community pharmacy. I reach out to them. I already trust them. They know my family members. They know my situation. That's part of care. Like what frustrates me, I love this industry. I love pharmacy. Pharmacists are my favorite providers. But if I'm looking at this through the patient's lens, and I have to transfer my care to some mail order-ish type of specialty pharmacy that I don't know them, all they are is like a name and an 800 number, and I'm calling. That's just not the same care, C-A-R-E. That's the health care part, the care part of health care. I feel safer when I get to stay in my community, and I get to talk with my local community pharmacists who are plethoras of information. They just don't talk about a hyperlipidemia drug medication or whatever is going on. So talk to us about the empathy part of this and the connection part of this that keeps people feeling like they get to use their hometown pharmacy instead of being shipped off to a big specialty pharmacy.
Sure, and that's one of the biggest pieces is also us as a specialty pharmacy having a great relationship with our care site pharmacies. That's what we call them, our co-op
care
members,
site
care site pharmacies. And they talk with the patient directly. Hey, I'm sending you to Value Specialty Pharmacy. They're affiliated with me. We're partners in this process and this journey for you. And when we reach out to the patient, hey, I'm calling from Value Specialty Pharmacy on behalf of John DeJames's pharmacy, and make that connection with them. It's trust. You're absolutely right. And I would say a lot of the empathy of our team, many of our team members have come from, they've worked in community pharmacies, so they've seen the patients face to face. They know what's going on there and how it's really important to make that connection. And I thought it was going to be challenging, connecting with patients over the phone. I was so used to seeing them in person and treating them in the inpatient setting. And if you're committed to it, you can have that same relationship with your patients in that aspect. One of the other things is in certain states where legislature permits, we're also able to utilize that pharmacy that patient goes to send the medication back there so they can pick up everything at one time. So that eases the care as well, and just makes it kind of completes the care circle, if you will, with their local pharmacy.
All right, the last and most important question of our interview. You ready?
Yes.
Are you a Steeler fan or an Eagles fan because you're in the center of Pennsylvania?
Oh, we're Steelers fans. Come on,
Nice.
it's not even a question.
That's the right answer.
Let's play Renegade.
Let's play the Renegade. I just got back from the draft, and I got to spend time down. I didn't actually go to the physical draft. I was on a riverboat on the Monongahela, and it was such a good time. But I love Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is my favorite city. I wish the weather was a little bit better, give us a little bit more sunshine. Did you know that Western Pennsylvania only gets 78 days of pure sun, like a bright, sunshiny day? It's just not enough for me.
It's not enough. And I'll tell you, that's why I'm staying an extra day here tomorrow. I need that 4 hours of sun before I get back on that plane.
Natalie, thank you so much for sharing with us here at Asembia 2026. Big fans of Value Drug, and I hope to do more with Value Drug specialty, so thank you.
Thanks so much.
This year's Asembia 2026 press coverage is sponsored by Panther RX Rare Pharmacy. At Panther RX, every day is Rare Disease Day. As the largest independent specialty pharmacy dedicated exclusively to rare and orphan conditions, their mission is simple but powerful. Empower patients to live fuller lives through personalized, compassionate care. Through their innovative rare care model, Panther RX delivers hyper-personalized support across the entire patient journey, connecting patients, prescribers, manufacturers, and payers with seamless access to life-changing therapies. Their expert teams go beyond dispensing medication. They provide clinical guidance, financial assistance coordination, prior authorization support, and ongoing patient engagement, ensuring that individuals living with rare and complex conditions are never navigating care alone. With nationwide reach, industry-leading patient satisfaction, and a relenting focus on innovation, Panther RX continues to set the standard for what specialty pharmacy should be. We hope you find value in the podcast coverage of the Asembia 2026 Summit, the Super Bowl of specialty pharmacy, where Panther RX Rare is helping redefine access and the future of rare disease care. Learn more at pantherxrare.com. That's pantherxrare.com.
Hey, this is Srulik Dvorsky, CEO of TailorMed, and you are listening to the Pharmacy Podcast.
Srulik is back at the Asembia 2026 coverage of this amazing conference. I call it the Super Bowl of Specialty Pharmacy. Srulik, it's so good to see you.
It's so fun to be here again.
I look forward to these. This is becoming a tradition. I think this is your third time doing Asembia coverage, right?
I think so. I think the fourth, actually. The first one you remember vividly. It was next to the pool.
Right. Asembia is so good to us. They gave us 2 places that year. I think that was 2023. And we had a pool front cabana, and we had the main booth, and now we're just in the booth. But this is a good spot. We're centralized, kind of in the middle of the showroom floor. How's Asembia been for you this year?
Amazing. I agree with you. Like, my sports analogy are not football, it's soccer. So let's call it like the World Cup of specialty pharmacy. But it's been amazing. Like, we have a big group here. First and foremost, it's so fun to meet our customers and just sit together, like see what they're seeing, how are they doing, and also share some insights across our network, and then just network. I think that everybody's here, and as a company that is dealing with all sides of the ecosystem, it's just a great opportunity to meet everybody.
Just in case the listeners don't know, give the listeners a summary of TailorMed and what you do.
Absolutely. So TailorMed is a tech company. We have a medication success platform that basically looks at all of the barriers that patients have, from access, affordability, and adherence, and products that are deployed across the largest network in the country, covering patients, providers, pharmacies, and life sciences companies.
So what's the sweet spot? Is it specialty pharmacy, or is it going into infusion? Like, what are the other sectors that you're assisting in?
So I think that the unique thing about TailorMed in our network, there is no sweet spot.
Okay.
This sweet spot, quote unquote, is the complete opposite of a sweet spot. It's everywhere we see a barrier. We actually, as a company, back in 2018, started in infusion. We have a massive footprint in community oncology practices, infusion centers, AICs, and more than 950 hospitals. But as we started scaling and we saw that the barriers that patients are seeing, especially around affordability, which is kind of core to what we do, really extends beyond infusion. As of 2021, we started building our specialty pharmacy network, and that drove us to basically cover every type of medication encounter: specialty, infusion, retail, home delivery, everywhere a prescription is written or dispensed.
Srulik, I see an increase in TailorMed being out there. I'm seeing posts on LinkedIn stories. I'm seeing things being shared in blog form and reporting. So the last time we spoke, TailorMed had built the industry's largest affordability network. How does that network impact patients and providers and bringing pharmacies all together?
So first, thanks for noticing. We're doing a good job trying to get the message out, but I want to also, in a second, explain why it's such an important moment in time for us to share these stories. But to your question first, the impact is identifying when patients are initially prescribed a high-cost drug, whether it's specialty, infusion, retail, or not, and then proactively identify opportunities to remove any barriers that they have. The impact measured in dollars has been more than $7.4 billion since we started. That's the amount of secured assistance we created for patients across our providers, our pharmacies, and it's the impact for patients, but it's also the financial impact for our customers, reducing bad debt and uncompensated care for providers, increasing efficiencies across all of the teams with AI. And also when you think about specialty pharmacies, that's the ability to reduce prescription abandonment and drive their revenues and being able to dispense more of those high-cost drugs. But to your question, this has been everything that we've been talking about since you first met me. Affordability, 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 and the affordability network. Over the last couple of years, what we saw is that we are very uniquely positioned to bridge a structural gap that exists in the industry. And that gap is you have patients prescribed and dispensed in one part, like using my hands here.
Yeah.
And on another part...
Nobody can see it.
Yeah, but I can envision it. So life sciences companies and other types of great companies are trying to provide solutions for patients to address other barriers, whether it's coverage and access, adherence and persistence. But there is a disconnect because they don't know when a patient is prescribed a medication in a HCP office. And even if they would have known, they can't reach those patients. And we're there, and we're building this network to try and address all of those barriers upstream. And it gives us an opportunity to start looking at other barriers, whether it's before the patient gets their first infusion or their first fill, and definitely throughout their episode of care. But it's a very big expansion of our strategy. That's why you are seeing our kind of story out there. It is to make sure that everybody understands why this structural gap, I think for the first time, has a chance to be bridged, and I think that we can bridge it.
One of the stories that I saw, which I was excited that it was so recently, is you just announced an expansion of your platform, which extends affordability to address that medication access issues and adherence. So what drove this expansion?
It's exactly that structural gap. I think that we've been pulled by our partners, whether it's providers who've been asking us to do more around SDOH problems, or access, and coverage, and BV, and prior auth, or our pharmacy partners who are asking us to help them automate a lot of the manual tasks that they're doing in order to support patients in reminding them that the next refill is coming up, or how to self-inject their self-injectable drugs. And our pharma partners who are constantly trying to figure out how can we make those programs we're putting out there more accessible for patients and increase utilization to eventually drive more persistence to the medication that patients need. And recognizing that we have that opportunity, I would call that our sweet spot. Mm-hmm. I think that's what drove the expansion. And it's a big one, and it's one that is pushing us to areas that we haven't played in before. But I think as a product company, and with what we can do now with AI, we can just close a lot of those gaps so much faster than we ever imagined before.
Srulik, you've always given us little hints to what's coming. What else are you planning? What's TailorMed doing next? What's the next phase of your growth?
The next phase is to start closing more and more of those gaps and address more and more of those barriers. You will see more news coming from TailorMed, one gap at a time. Think about access, think about targeted education, think about adherence, think about persistence, transportation assistance, and I wouldn't say one word, I would say 2 letters, AI. And I know it could be perceived as like the buzzword of the day. We took such a deep thought process to think, what does it mean for us and how can we translate that to our customers? And you will see much more of what that will entail very soon.
I'm excited. I got to get you back on This Week in Pharmacy at some point as well. I'd like you to bring in a partner, like a specialty pharmacy partner or awesome. A network or something, but we'll be able to talk more about the depth and the value that TailorMed brings to this ecosystem. It's so complex. It's getting more complex. I know, just based on the stories that you're telling, things that you're publishing, that you're making it simpler and you're making it more affordable, and that's the key. So where can people learn more about TailorMed and what you're doing?
So our website, and actually it's a new one, so go check it out, TailorMed, TailorMed.com.
Excellent. All right, thanks for being on the post-show, the press podcast post-show here at Asembia 2026.
Always fun to be here with you, Todd. Thank you so much for what you're doing.
Excited to bring the Asembia 2026 press coverage, this interview, because I need to learn more about Pleio. I'm here with Michael Oleksiw and Abby Reynolds. Michael, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Hey, tell us right out of the gate, what is this organization that I've just learned about and feel fascinated about being here at Asembia with you?
Yeah, so Pleio is all about patients. We have a fundamental belief that healthcare is human, and that human connection is the ultimate when it comes to medication adherence and putting patients on the proper path.
Abby, talk to us about your role with the organization and what you're excited about being here at Asembia.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us today. My role within the organization is, I like to call myself the chief empath, but I guess by title, I would be the chief experience officer, and my entire focus is on building programs, support initiatives to help provide a valuable patient experience to people starting and staying on, chronic disease medications.
Abby, let's talk about something that I haven't heard anything about, so I'm glad that we're talking about it here at Asembia, and that's the emotional barriers, not just the costs. Number one driver of non-adherence in specialty therapy. Can you expand on that for our listeners?
Absolutely. I think it's important first to acknowledge the tremendous work that's been done focused on access to the medication. So the industry has really done a lot around savings opportunities for patients, hub services, specialty logistics. That really is the infrastructure that matters. Mm-hmm. But then you have to take it to the next step. Once the patient has the medication in hand, what happens next? And you can solve the access gap and get the medication to the patient, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the patient utilizes the medication. And so it's important, really, that post-fulfillment gap is where there's so much value that can be contributed there to prevent patients from dropping off therapy. And what we found, we did some research with Pure Spectrum and found that more than 50% of chronically ill patients indicated that loneliness caused them to either miss or intentionally skip a dose of a medication. And that's wild if you stop and think about it. That's more than half the population. And really, when you look at patients utilizing specialty medications, it's even higher. It goes up, towards the 70% mark. And if you think about it, take a step back. You're a patient who's been diagnosed with a condition. Maybe you're starting a new medication in the specialty space. There are so many feelings that come with that. You're taking it out of the box. It's been mailed to you. The whole process has changed from what you would normally expect. And so you have maybe fear of injection if it's your first time injecting yourself. Maybe it's trying to figure out how you're going to incorporate this new medication into your routine and your lifestyle. And so it becomes incredibly important to support the patient in that moment efficient, so that not only do they have the therapy, but they utilize the therapy and they can get the success out of what we know works well.
All right, like I said, that's the first time they've really dug into what it means to have the emotional barriers to care. Michael, how the right combination of we hear AI, and everything. We merge AI and human first outreach, proving that there's some measurable improvement there. What does that mean for our listeners, for our pharmacists?
Yeah, so, AI is wonderful. It makes things efficient, makes things move fast, gives us access to data that we can't fathom. But the patient experience will remain a human one. And we see right now AI's made the procurement channels for patients, access channels, much more efficient. We're navigating cost, we're navigating the transaction really well with AI. But at the end of the day, that just means that we get the product into the patient's hands, but we're not necessarily connecting the patients with the therapy. So our belief is we use human outreach to connect with patients, target those emotional barriers, but our humans aren't perfect either. So we can't read all those emotions in real time and react in real time. And that's where AI is wonderful, because we use our platform where we built out Ollie. It's got a barrier blueprint. We look at simple things like tone and sentiment, but then we listen to what the patients are saying. We look at how those emotions cascade over time, and then we learn how to better connect with them as humans. So we're using AI to augment the human, not replace the human, and support the collective humans, the patient and the folks that we have calling all throughout the process.
Abby, what's this mean? One of the biggest barriers is always the cost. So what's this mean for the total cost of care, and why do you think payers and pharma, they're really paying attention to this, obviously?
And they are, and the downstream cost is real. I mentioned earlier we had done some research, and within the survey, the patients that we surveyed, we found that 34% of those patients had an emergency room visit as a result of a life-threatening event that was tied to loneliness-driven mismanagement of their medication. So, missing that dose, skipping that dose intentionally, that adds up over time and can actually create a medical emergency for patients. And if you think about it from a payer perspective, persistence on specialty therapy, it's not a cost center. It's one of the highest leverage investments that can be made. And if you think about it from pharma's perspective, access infrastructure is built. It's there. It's ready. So the next frontier is those real-world outcomes. How can we? It doesn't work anymore to say, did you get the medication, and check that box. That no longer directly corresponds with the use of the medication. And so both sides now have a shared interest in what happens after fulfillment, which is huge, because that is the next step in patient care and weaving this into becoming a critical part of the patient's journey and support.
Michael, share with our stakeholders listening to the show today. They might not have been able to come to Asembia, but they want to work with you. They want to reach out. Give us a way to get a hold of you. Where would listeners go to reach out to you guys?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is great. Pleio.com, Pleio.com. Think Pleio. Yeah. Great place, a website. But we're humans, accessible humans that connect with humans. So we're always looking for outreach.
Michael and Abby, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for sitting down with me here at the Asembia 2026 post-show podcast, and we appreciate your insights.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Fran, Gregory, and you're listening to the Pharmacy Podcast, and I'm joining you from Cardinal Health today.
Fran, it's so good to see you in person instead of on a Zoom call or some kind of web-enabled meeting. I love being in front of people. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's wonderful to be here and to see you in Vegas.
All right, so we're exhausted. It's at the end of the day of the second day of Asembia. I'm still charged up. I still have a lot of energy. We still have more meetings tonight. But talk to us about the panel discussion that you were on and kind of its focal point, and let's open up to the listeners. There's listeners who are listening right now who didn't get to come to the show. So I like to give them as much as we can through the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Asembia is always such an amazing venue for all kinds of audiences, from payers, PBMs, specialty pharmacies, all of our manufacturer partners, and of course distributors. And other service suppliers like ourselves. So really excited to get to contribute to the speaker panel and the speaker contributors again this year. Myself, as well as Lee Denny from Johnson & Johnson and Dr. Philip Marjan from C-Care, which is part of our Navista organization within Cardinal Health, really had the opportunity to talk about some topics that are very forward-thinking, probably for this audience as well as many audiences in our world of the pharmaceutical industry. We got to talk about advanced therapies, which include cell therapies, gene therapies, and other very complex, innovative treatments, and how those products are evolving. So we talk a little bit about the pipeline and how important it is for community providers to start not only learning about these types of treatments, but being able to offer them to their patients. So we all want the patients to get the best treatments possible. We want providers, physicians to be able to offer patients the best treatments possible. And a lot of the best treatments possible now, especially in oncology, are advanced therapies like gene therapies, cell therapies. So we really want to educate the audience about what it means for a community provider to be able to start embracing these products. So we have a pharmaceutical manufacturer talking about what these treatments are, what types of treatments we're talking about. And then the community physician, I think, is a really nice addition. We don't get a lot of physicians talking at Asembia, so I thought it was a really neat opportunity for especially manufacturers to be able to hear about the physician and the patient, the real world side of things. How does this really happen in the community? So really helping the audience understand how we all can work together to improve patient access through these different channels and provider types, as well as how pharmacists play a role.
So you educated our listeners on This Week in Pharmacy, almost 180 new medications coming out over what period of time did you tell me that it was over the next, 12 to 18 months or?
So by the year 2030, so our forecast kind of, and this is all plus or minus, we'll be wrong to what extent, we don't know.
We won't hold Fran Gregory.
Don't hold
Fran Gregory said.
No, but we do expect, nearly 200 products to be approved in this advanced therapy category of drugs or treatments by the year 2030. So a huge influx of these treatments. And we're already seeing a lot of that. Bispecifics are a name that we hear for a certain group of treatments quite a bit lately. That's a hot topic, specifically in oncology. So many of those coming through the pipeline, as well as other treatments that will be life-changing for patients.
All right. When we think of artificial intelligence as a way to help the follow-up process, engaging people in text, asking questions, maybe a scale from 1 to 10 or something, where does AI in patient engagement fit into the future of cell and gene therapies, for example?
So I'll just use one really simple example that I think a lot of this audience can really associate with, and that's specialty pharmacies. So if we think about specialty pharmacies' role in advanced therapies, what exactly does that look like? So a lot of these community providers don't want to take a financial risk with a drug that might cost $2 or $3 million. So specialty pharmacies are kind of taking a lead in helping those physicians administer prior authorizations, really taking that off their hands, billing the payers, ensuring that payment is collected and reimbursement occurs efficiently and effectively. So those are things that can be automated. Those are things that can be done with a lot of AI and some of the new, machine learning types of things happening. So we're trying to incorporate a lot of that into the specialty pharmacy components that we are preparing to offer, and other specialty pharmacies are doing that as well. But I think the more interesting part of what we can do outside of kind of those operational components, which are sort of like no-brainers and easy to automate, is really thinking about real-world evidence and long-term outcomes for these patients. So if we think about these treatments, sometimes they're one-time treatments, patient gets them on day one. What happens to that patient 2 years from now, 5 years from now? So specialty pharmacies have the ability to automate some of those follow-up activities, reach out to those patients in different ways, text, phone, through their provider even, and using a lot of automation and AI to inform when we want to make those decisions to follow up with that patient. What types of questions should we be asking? How do we collate that data and analyze that data and give those insights back to the parties that matter who can influence patient access further in the future? So a lot of huge opportunities just within the specialty pharmacy space, and you can obviously imagine that in the provider setting, there are many opportunities for that type of technology as well.
What have you experienced here at Asembia that has been like really cool that you're like, wow, I didn't either know about that, or some technology or something else happening in our space of the specialty pharmacy industry?
I will say, I think, we already talked about AI, but I'm going to say it's probably the reality of AI. Yeah. So it's not just something we're talking about anymore. And, I'm not the most tech-savvy AI
Me either.
advanced person in the world, but just the fact that so much AI is being used already and the way that it's being used. So, anything from conversations with a physician being recorded and analyzed for certain data pieces and reported back out to certain parties that are interested in those insights and data through all kinds of different types of insights that can be provided by things that we never would have thought was possible, in the blink of an eye. So I think I would say just the topic of AI in itself and how much we're actually using that I really didn't realize until I heard some of the speakers and have had some of the meetings and the engagements that I've had this week at Asembia.
I agree with you. And what excites me about specialty pharmacy specifically is organizations like URAC who are putting these standardized guardrails that make me feel safer about the leverage and usage of AI, and it really making sense, and then building on top of that. So when we're here next year, there's going to be other stories to be told of things that came out of having standards, having proof points, and having repetition of something in our ecosystem or prior authorizations or whatever it is. But I'm excited to see what's coming, and I think that the talk about it here is more impactful to the patient than almost anywhere else in pharmacy because of how special specialty is and how fragile specialty pharmacy's patients are. The need for AI assurance, maybe that's the word, AI assurance, and making sure that it's up to par, it's real, it's not just, they call it hallucination for LLMs and things like that. So I'm excited, just like you said in reference to that.
Yeah, and we hope, right, that it will help improve patient access. So I think maybe in addition to AI, not just AI itself, but how AI can enable patient access. I think that's probably the even more exciting part. But I love your point about putting guardrails around that. We don't want to go crazy with it and put any information or anything at risk that is not appropriate for the patient's best interest. So really focusing on the patient access and improving patient outcomes within those boundaries and those safety nets.
Fran, Gregory, you are so good to us at the Pharmacy Podcast Network, giving us your time and insights. We very much appreciate this. Thanks for being part of the Asembia post show.
Appreciate you. Great speaking to you again.
Thank you.
Take care.